Well, hello, readers. I'm Tricia Goyer, and I am so excited to be here with Elly Gilbert and Christen Krumm, so you guys can say hi.
Hi.
And I'm going to have them introduce themselves in just a minute, but I'll tell you kind of what we're doing. So the three of us, are able to write books in the Big Sky Amish series, and I'm going to give a little background on how that all happened, and then we're going to turn it over. I'm going to ask Elly questions and Christen questions, but first, so this is super fun. I want to show you this. This is my book. It's called Beyond the Gray Mountains, and it's with Sunrise Publishing. And so Sunrise Publishing is this great publisher, and they pair up new authors with lead authors. And so Susie May Warren came to me and said, hey, would you like to expand one of your series? And readers have been asking for my Big Sky series. They just want more books. And I'm like, this is perfect. And so we actually had an audition process, which Elly and Christen, they tried out and they made it. And so they've been working with me over the last year on these books. And so, yeah, so Jenny says, this is so neat. Y'all's stories look so good. And those covers, yes, so it's awesome. So I'm going to turn it over first to Christen and then to Elly. So first, Christen, just start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm Christen. I live in a small town in Oklahoma. I have 3 kids and a husband. And by day, I am a virtual assistant for authors, and I write in the mornings and at nights and every margin of life that I can fit in.
Awesome. Okay, Elly, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm Elly Gilbert. I live in beautiful central Kentucky, and I am a wife and a mom. I have 3 teenage, almost grown children, and I work. My day job is at the Department of Education here in Kentucky. I'm a communications consultant. Writing time is just, yes, like Christen said, in those margins when I can find 2 or 3 minutes to just get an idea down.
Exactly. I think we should call ourselves the in the margin writers, because we're up early, we're in late. I homeschool. Of course, I write full time, but also homeschooling and taking care of my grandma and my mom and all the things. So we're kind of writing in the margins. And so this book, the first book, Beyond the Gray Mountains, is the first book that we're releasing this year. It releases February 28th. Christen, is that right? February 28th? February 26th, February 28th. Okay, February 28th, this one releases. It's available on paperback to pre-order and on Kindle to pre-order. And then Christen's book comes out next month in March. And then Elly's book comes out in August. So we're super excited. So if you're not familiar with the Big Sky series, it's set in West Kootenai, Montana. My main characters are Mariana and Ben. We have Ike and Annie and Abe and all these awesome characters from West Kootenai, Montana. And so their job was to kind of write stories into the world. Yeah, Jenny, I love how the cover turned out. So my book takes place actually after book 3 of the Big Sky series. Leaves off, this actually takes place within months. So that takes place, follows all those same characters. But we'll start with you, Christen. So tell us a little bit just about what your story is about, and then later we'll talk about kind of the audition process and how all that worked.
Yeah, so my story is on the Golden Cliffs, and as Tricia mentioned, it comes out March 21st. It follows Beyond the Gray Mountains. It comes maybe a couple of months after that one. It is about a social media star who falls from grace and ends up in an Amish community in Montana. And while there, she meets an Amishman who has a secret of his own that could threaten his livelihood if it gets out. And of course, they fall in love with lots of mishaps along the way.
Yeah, it's so cute. And like you said, social media star that ends up in Montana. Like, you just picture, she is not suited for this wilderness of West Kootenai. And Jenny asked if they need to be read in order. So yeah, this one Well, I mean, if you picked it up, it would make sense, like the story would make sense, but it does follow the first 3 in the Big Sky series, and those are Beside Still Waters, Along Wooded Paths, and Beyond Hope's Valley are the 3. And then it's the first in the new series, but it's officially like kind of the 4th one. So it would help you understand the characters and what's going on. But if you just happen to pick it up, it would you could follow the whole story. And then Kristen's, I would say yours and Elly's would be kind of like a standalone. They are definitely with the same characters and all that, but you could again pick Kristen's up, and it would be more like an independent standalone book. You wouldn't need to read the Big Sky series. Okay, Elly, tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay, well, my book is called Under the Blue Skies, and it takes place shortly after Kristen's, and also set in a little town, and all the kind of same people popping up. But my main character is Lavina Graber, and she is an Amish old maid at the age of 25. But,
Old maid.
She's an old maid.
Poor Lavina.
So she is an Amish old maid, and she's resigned to this, and she's just going to be a helper and support her family until she is called into a situation with an Amish bachelor who has just moved to town, and he has a surprise niece that he didn't know existed, and he has to take care of her. And so Lavina, being the helper, she's right there on the spot. She's helping out, and of course, the two of them fall in love along the way.
Yeah, I love those poor old maids, at 25. And so I think it's super fun that both of your books have, like, well, Kristen, your main character is an influencer, so she's not Amish at all. And then the niece Elly mentioned is a surprise niece, and she's not Amish. So a family member, we won't give too many details, but a family member left the Amish, has this niece, and all of a sudden Thomas has to care for this not Amish niece who is, has tablets. It's very familiar with the world out there. And so I love both of their story ideas, and their premises are with characters that are kind of beyond the Amish community. And I think that's one of the things that people loved about the Big Sky series, because it's Amish. I mean, a lot of the main characters are Amish. Kristen has Reuben that's Amish, and then his family, and Lavina and Thomas are both Amish in Elly's book, and a lot of my characters are Amish, but it's the interaction with the outside world. And in Montana, things are just a little bit different. That it's not like Indiana or Pennsylvania, where the Amish community has hundreds of other families around them. This is a community where there's a dozen or so families, and they have a lot of interaction with the outside world. And so it's fun to kind of mix the two. And I think that's one thing that that people have loved kind of about the Big Sky Amish series, because they do have friends and neighbors who are not Amish, and you just see a lot of those friendships and interactions when it's all inspired by true stories, friends that I had living in that community. So let's start by talking a little about the audition process. We'll start with Elly first. So how did you know that you wanted to write for this series? And then what was it like to actually go from idea to finished book?
Okay, well, I owe it all to this group, because this is where I saw Tricia talk about pitching, that there would be this audition process for an Amish book. And I thought, well, I would love to write, but I need somebody to help me because I don't know what I'm doing. And so I listened to her talk about it, and I thought that's exactly what I want. I love to read Amish fiction. Might as well give writing it a shot. So I did try out, and was thrilled to find out that I was chosen. But the process has been super enlightening. I don't know anything about
I love that word, enlightening.
I don't know anything about publishing. I mean, I'm learning something new all the time. I was a teacher for 20 years, and that's all I know about. So learning about, I think I know better than this, but somewhere in my head, it was like, I think people like Tricia just sit down and this book happens like magic. And that is so far from the truth. The many drafts and many different attempts at getting it right, that's been a big lesson to me. And I'm also having to learn to let go of perfectionism, which is hard. But learning just the process of publishing has been huge, very eye-opening for me.
Yeah, very good. Okay, what about you, Kristen?
Um, Mine was a little bit different in that I waited until the very last minute before I decided that I wanted to submit.
Like the day
I had,
before, like the day it was due, huh?
yeah, it was like an hour before the deadline. So, um, I had heard about it from Tricia, and she was like, you really should submit. I think it would be great." And I'm like, "No, because I don't write Amish fiction. I write YA, and which is young adult." But then I came up with a story, and that is the thing about me is I love story, and I came up with these characters, and I was like, okay, now that I have like a direction, I'm definitely going to submit my idea. So I submitted it like an hour before the deadline, and then yeah.
Yep, and the fun thing is that it's a blind audition. So it
Mhm.
was me and the publishing director, and then one of the editors of the line. And so it's all like based on how well the opening did, their writing style, their idea. So it's all numbered. And so that was really good because once there's like 26 people, I knew a lot of them. And so I'm so glad I like didn't know the names ahead of time because I would have been like, oh my goodness, I love her and I love her and I love her and I love her and I love her. So it was just like pure on idea and their writing style and how well it flowed and the dialogue, like very, very just point space, which is really helpful when you're looking at so many people. But the cool thing is that once we got in, we were able to get together. We brainstormed, so we all met up in Branson, Missouri, and Susan May Warren was there with us, and we were able to talk about my idea. Well, we didn't really brainstorm my idea, but kind of the overall view of West Kootenai. And we were able to brainstorm Kristen's idea and Elly's idea. We were able to go visit an Amish community kind of in Missouri. There was a funeral going on, so we weren't able to kind of go in and see too much because we didn't want to like interrupt the funeral and process. But it was fun that we all got together and we all brainstormed together. And I think it was almost like a fire hose. I mean, did you guys feel that way, Elly? Did you feel it was like a fire hose as we're all throwing these ideas out there?
It was fast paced, and Susie's brain just works in a different way than anyone I've ever known. Like, she can just think of any, like, you just say a word and she can come up with a whole story. So
Yeah.
she was just like boom, 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 and I'm just over there going, okay, okay. So I have a main character. Now what do I do?
Yeah. So it is. It was just like a kind of the fire hose. All these ideas are pouring out, but they left that retreat with an outline of their books to actually know where they were going. Then it was a process of them sending the first chapter to me, and then I'd read it and give them points. And then the first 3 chapters, I read it and give it points. But still, I mean, all the way to the end, there's continual editing in the process. So I think they I mean, got to see, okay, let's how you lay out a plot, but let's talk about the characters and deepening the characters. And let's talk about the spiritual kind of storyline because all of my books have the spiritual arc that's super important. I think so. That was really, it made me realize as I'm leading them and guiding them that there's a lot of layers that I think because I've written a lot of books that it just kind of happens and then you're like, oh, and then we got to add this and oh, we got to talk about what is their main goal and motivation and spiritual arc. And so I am so thankful that they were just willing to dive in and go back and do another pass and do another pass. So Kristen, what was it like when you were getting edits and going through the process? Where you were just like, oh, no problem. This is just so easy.
Well, there were many, many breakdowns during my process. And not necessarily from the feedback that I was getting. It was just it's very overwhelming. And I had a very tight deadline. And then I just made my deadline tighter because apparently that's how I work. And so I was feeling like I couldn't do it. I couldn't get it done, but I did. I had a wonderful team with Tricia and everybody over at Sunrise. And um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Elly? What was it like when you're you're still going because you were still working on edits.
I am working through the last round knock on wood, the last round of edits. I'm like so tired of reading this story over and over. But yeah, that was like Christen said, breakdowns along the way. And it wasn't because they told me something that hurt my feelings. It was just this like doubt that do I have the ability to pull it together? And every time I doubted, God came through and pulled me in the form of Tricia, pulled me back from the ledge, and I didn't quit, which, about 8 times a day I quit writing this book. So, but it has been a real endurance lesson, that it's not a quick process.
Yeah. And they turned out so cute. Like, I just love them so much. I think both of you have like humor, and there's fun elements, and there's these things that come out of the character's mouth that is just I'm like, I can't believe they said that, and that is awesome. Like, I loved the bits of dialogue, and it was so much fun. So let's start. First, I'll share a little bit about Beyond the Gray Mountains, which is the only one we actually have in print right now. But I was able to research the Bob Marshall Wilderness. So it takes place in Montana, and Montana is just gorgeous. We lived up there for 15 years. And the Amish community, those in the Amish community often hunt and fish and hike and go up in the mountains for weeks at a time and all this stuff. So I wanted my characters to have a real Montana mountain experience. And so they go up on trail horses way up into the mountains. And one of my friends, Rebecca, was an outfitter for 20 years. And so like, what do you pack, Rebecca? How do you do this? And she would read everything, and I'd put something on there. She's like, well, he can't do that because then the saddle would rub the wrong way. Or like, she would just go over every detail. So it just helped me so much knowing that what I put in there is a real outfitter told me what to have them back, how to have them set up their tent, what they would be eating, what they would be doing. And I love those detailed parts of Montana. So I feel like if you love Montana, if you love the wilderness, the Rocky Mountains, there's danger, and then there's love and romance and a wedding. So there's all those elements. I just love putting all that into one book. So Christen, what did you kind of love most about West Kootenai and the setting of these Big Sky novels?
I'm a mountain girl. And so I just really loved being able to picture the mountains and the landscape in Montana from what I've seen in pictures, because I haven't actually been there. It's so pretty.
Yeah. And what about you, Elly?
I'm not an outdoorsy girl, so the idea of having to be outdoorsy, that I would not be able to write that story. But what I really like is how everybody's a big family there, and they all fit together, and friendships that are, decades old friendships. So I really enjoy family connected drama. So that this was a really neat path to follow with the writing.
Yeah. And that's fun because in West Kootenai, which is a real Amish community in Montana, it's also called the Rexford community, but West Kootenai is kind of over the lake and up in the mountains a little bit more. But it's a real Amish community. They just have a couple dozen families, and everyone knows everybody because, who's sick, who's well, who's interested in who. And then the one fun thing, it's just why Thomas ended up in West Kootenai, in Elly's book, is every year bachelors come from all over the United States, like, a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen bachelors show up, and they live in these bachelor cabins, and they show up in the spring because they want to be able to hunt in the fall. And so they need their resident hunting license. And so every spring you have this new round of bachelors. And so this brings a lot of material that we can use for our books, but have different bachelors showing up. And that's where Thomas ended up coming, although that wasn't really his reason, but you have to read the book to find out all his reasons why he came. So it's super fun that we have this awesome Amish community and able to have fresh characters, interesting characters, but also, like Elly was saying, the family element. So, and I do think, like Jenny was asking, you would benefit if you read the first 3 books in the Big Sky series first, and then Beyond the Gray Mountains, and then Elly's and Kristen's book too. So let's talk about, okay, so we have these books, they're going to be releasing, but it reminds me of but there's more. But there's more. So Christen, what can we be looking forward to you in the Big Sky books coming out maybe next year?
Well, I have two more stories for you coming out next year in the Big Sky series. So I'm looking forward to those. I think one will be releasing probably in the summer, and then the second one will be releasing in the fall.
Yeah, and it's fun. And so some of the characters that show up in her books, that unique characters that I fell in love with and readers will fall in love with, you're like, I want more of these characters, and they'll be showing up. So that's super fun. And then Kristen's doing another one, just a sweet, sweet story. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. So 2 more coming from Kristen. And Elly, what about you?
I have one more coming if it ever gets theoretically it's coming, right? No, I have a plot and I have some chapters written, but it is what I said I loved about it is the family connection. And so Lavina has a sister. Well, she has 4 sisters, but one of them is featured in the next book, and so I'm excited to get to tell her story. And they're twins, so I'm a twin mom, so of course I had to pull that in. But so I really like to I'm excited to show how different the 2 of them are. So that's what's going to be fun about that one.
Yeah, so
and
good.
Firefighters.
And Amish firefighters, which is so, we have all these questions because they're like, we can look online and we see, yes, Amish volunteer on the volunteer fire department. And I have a friend that I was just with her in Ohio in November, and her husband's on the volunteer fire department. So we will be getting the real scoop about how this works with the Amish on the fire department and all the things when they volunteer. So super fun.
I joined a Facebook group of their local volunteer fire department. So I get the
oh, you did?
Yeah. I just kind of, snoop.
That is awesome. I love it. So really what's going on up there. Awesome. And then I have another book coming, I think in the spring next year. And it's 2 characters who have been there from the first chapter of book 1 of my Amish series. And I am so excited that they finally get their own story. I've had readers like, what about them? So will Annie from the store, I'll just put that out there. Annie from the store is finally going to have some romance. So, and she's in all our books. Like Annie is, I don't know, just she's not a mom because she doesn't have kids, but she's kind of a glue to the whole community. And so I'm excited in my story that Annie will be having a book. All right. So we talked about the books and the ideas and the processes. What encouragement would you have, Christen, for someone who maybe has thought about writing, hasn't been sure, or maybe, has even seen some of those sunrise contests and thought, well, I don't write that genre. What encouragement would you have for someone?
If you are thinking about writing for Sunrise, my encouragement would be just do it. Stop thinking, stop overthinking, and just do it.
Yeah, good. What about you, Elly?
I agree. The overthinking is our big enemy as a writer. Like, oh, that's such a problem. But for me, it was just letting go and trusting the process. And if this is the right opportunity for you, it's not going to pass you by. So give it a shot.
Yeah, very cool. Now, Christen, as you are, you've already have your whole book is done. The editing is all done on the first one. What things do you think you learned through the process of, well, I know you self-published, it happened at Christmas, and then this one, it's so officially your second book, but what have you learned kind of in the process of going through and getting On Golden Cliffs ready for publication?
I have learned that I really like working with a publisher. I like having that group of it not being, only up to you. Like it is with self-publishing, you're kind of in charge of all of the aspects of it. So I really like working with a publisher, and Sunrise is a fabulous, fabulous publisher. I can't sing their praises enough for every step of the way, from releasing all the way back to the whole audition process. They're a great publisher to work with. Awesome.
And Elly, what about you? What have you learned?
Well, I've learned that you cannot do it alone. It is very important to have community, a community of support. And that's when great benefit. There's, what we have like 10 different seasons of Sunrise authors now, and we all kind of chat together daily and write together and bounce ideas. So that's so helpful. Also, I learned that first drafts it's okay if they're bad. They're not going to publish the first draft. So just get the words on paper and let it go.
Yeah. And I will say I learned, so this is the first one where I worked with a publisher that's been so interactive. Like Susie was there and plotting with us and talking these things through. And, I think it's been interesting. I've learned different things about the plotting process. I think some things that I kind of did intuitively, I have more of a system of it now. So I think that has been helpful. I think it just goes to show whether it's your first book like Elly or your second book like Christen or your 80-something book like me, like there's always something we can learn. And that's been super fun. So it's just cool. And then plus we all know, like we all have these characters in common in this community. So we could all talk about Annie and Ike and Ben and Mariana and all these people. And it's just like they're our extended family of our little writing community. So that's fun. So Beyond the Gray Mountains comes out February 28th. An audiobook, I think it should be available next month. Kristen's book comes out next month. Elly's in August. And we will put links in the comments about some pre-order goodies. So Christen, you want to talk a little bit about some of the pre-order stuff that we have going on?
Sure. So I have partnered, and I know Tricia as well has partnered with a local indie in Arkansas, indie bookstore, to offer pre-orders for the paperback. There will be signed books, stickers, postcards, and Tricia has a pretty good price pack going.
I got them here. Wait, let me show you.
Yeah.
So these are some of the postcards. They're so pretty.
Fun postcards.
And
then I have a exclusive fun pre-order goodie for the first 100 paperback pre-orders. They're going to get a bookmark that has a QR code that is going to take them to a secret fun pre-order incentive, and I'm having fun working on it right now.
Yeah. And so we'll put all the links to that. We're going to have some pre-orders for Elly. In fact, this is Elly's sticker for a pre-order. So it's pretty big. And so this is my water bottle. You just stick this thing on the water bottle, and they have Kristen's and Tricia's and Elly's right on the water bottle. So they're super fun pre-order goodies that we're going to be giving out. But we'll again put the links in the comments. But okay, we are launching your careers here, ladies. Where can people go? First of all, we'll start with Christen. Where can they go to find more information about you, to sign up for the newsletter, to get pre-order information? Where can they go?
You can find all of that information on my website. It's just my name, KristenKrumm.com, Christen with a C, Krumm with a K. And then I love connecting with readers over on Instagram. I'm also Christen Krumm, no spaces altogether, over there on Instagram as well.
All right. And Elly, where can people go to connect with you?
Okay. Also, my website, ellygilbert.com, and Elly is with a Y. And there's links for newsletters for all my social media. I would love for people to follow me, Mrs. Elly Gilbert, on all of my social media sites. Hold over from my teacher days. I would talk for too long to let some of that go. But yeah, I'd love to connect with folks.
Awesome. And then for me, it's just TriciaGoyer.com. And if you have any problems, saying hey, where can I find this? You can always message on Instagram or Facebook, and we will connect with you, any of us, to get you in the right place. But we're super excited about this series. We love Sunrise Publishing and all that they're doing. The audiobooks will be out soon. So if you're an audiobook lover like I am, you can listen to the audiobooks. But it's super fun that we're able to take this familiar series. In fact, Big Sky Amish is my best-selling series. And so we're just bringing more characters to life. And we just love doing that. So we're super excited. So thank you, Christen and Elly, for being here today and talking about the books. Elly, what is the title of your book? I don't know if we ever mentioned it.
Under the Blue Skies.
Okay, so Under the Blue Skies is Elly's. Christen?
On the Golden Cliffs.
Cliffs, on the Golden Cliffs, and mine is Beyond the Gray Mountains. And so they're all, and the covers are gorgeous. They turned out so good. So Jenny says the whole series sounds amazing. Can't wait. Thank you, Jenny. All right. Well, thank you, friends. Thank you for being here today. And we're excited about the series. Bye.
Bye.